Coaching through modern media. Lesson 6. Coaching basic media. The fundamental importance of linguistic speech.
Welcome to the lecture Coaching Through Modern Media. I'm Harald Geisler. I'm professor for further education at Helmut Schmidt University in Hamburg, Germany. My favorite subject in research and teaching is coaching. I'm doing this reflecting my many years of experience as coaching practitioner. On this basis, I developed and established in 2006 an internet platform called virtualcoaching.net. In these days, I was a pretty lonely pioneer in this new field. But now things are changing. More and more coaches are becoming open to use the modern communication technologies for their coaching services. And more entrepreneurs invest their money to develop new internet platforms to be used for distant coaching services. So I think now it's time to have a lecture about coaching through modern media, or shortly e-coaching, to give a broad overview and some in-depth insights into this interesting new field of practice. If you have a look onto the slides you can see in the background, you will realize that our lecture is structured into some different parts. The first is an introduction, and the second is referring to the basic media. And this lesson today is a second one in the second part. Its issue is the fundamental importance of linguistic speech. You remember, in the last lesson we heard some basic information about coaching media, about every coaching medium. We heard that they are composed of different components, and the first and most important one is a linguistic speech. This component is in the center of this lesson. In the center of linguistic speech is one special term. It's a term speech act. Speech acts are the smallest sense unit in our communication processes. I will give you an example. If I say, John is coming, I'm giving you an information. It's a statement or a proposition. But the speaker who says this sentence doesn't make clear what he means in detail. Does he mean, I know that John is coming tomorrow? Or does he mean, I hope that John is coming tomorrow? Or does he mean, I could imagine that John is coming tomorrow? So, if you have a look onto the deep structure of our communication, you will see that linguistic speech, that speech acts, are composed of two components. The one component is a propositional component. For instance, John is coming tomorrow. And the other component is a so-called illocutionary component, represented by the words, I hope that John is coming, or I expect, or I could imagine that John is coming tomorrow. So this information is very, very important for every coach because he must understand the client very well regarding his statements and regarding the illocutionary acts he is committing. The media component, linguistic speech, is crucial for all basic media, not only for face-to-face coaching, but also for synchronous video coaching, coaching through video mailing, phone coaching, coaching through voice mailing, synchronous text chat coaching, asynchronous text-based coaching, voice-based avatar coaching, and text-based avatar coaching. Linguistic speech is the research subject of the academic discipline of linguistics. It is structured into several sections. One of these is of major importance to our lecture, pragma linguistics. Its basic insight is that human communication is composed of speech acts. They are the smallest sense units in our communication. This is an insight developed by John Austin and John Searle. Every speech act consists of two components, an illocutionary part and a propositional part. Both are composed of several elements. This is a crucial insight for our analysis of the coaching process and our understanding of coaching basic media. The illocutionary part regulates the relationship between speaker, listener, and communication content. In coaching, this is the relationship between coach, client, and the coaching issues. We will have a closer look on the nature of this regulation later on. At the same time, the propositional part only refers to the communication content, respectively the coaching issues. This referencing to the client's issues is always a process of interpretation and not a one-to-one reproduction of the client's real-life challenges. Furthermore, every interpretation is a mental construction by pragma-linguistic means. We can call this mental construction a mental virtualization. In this context, it is noteworthy that the inner structure of linguistic speech corresponds with the basic structure of coaching media. For, as mentioned before, coaching media always show three fundamental aspects. They represent coaching issues, they serve as a means to reach the coaching goals, and they give the coaching process a methodological structure. So we can state that the propositional part of speech acts serves the purpose to represent the coaching issues. And it is important to note that this representation is a mental virtualization and not an objective mirroring of the client's reality. On the other hand, the illocutionary part serves two functions. It is a means to reach the coaching goals, and it gives the coaching process a methodological structure. What does this mean in detail? To answer this question, let us have another look at the video we already watched in Lesson 3.
Hi Chris, how are you?
Not very good, I'm afraid. I've got a problem, a real problem, and I'm getting really stressed about it.
It doesn't sound good. Tell me what the problem is.
Well, I've got this report to write, and it's got to be done by next Friday. And I put some time aside to do it, but I just haven't managed to get round to doing it. There's so much going on at the moment. I've been doing lots of trainings, I've got lots of meetings, and it just isn't time. And, well, now, because next week's so busy, I can't see how I'm even going to get this report done.
How big is this report?
Well, it's going to take about half a day to do. It's about 9 to 10 pages.
Right, okay. So just clarify for me exactly what has to be done by when?
Let us start our analysis with the propositional part of speech acts. As we mentioned already, the propositional part represents the coaching issues. My research of coaching processes shows that the propositional parts of speech acts in coaching processes consist of 6 genuine elements. Let us try to identify those 6 elements in the example we just saw. We remember the client said that she has a problem and that her problem is to have finished a report till Friday. To analyze the propositional part of this speech act, we must have a closer look on the just mentioned 6 elements. The first element is the designation of an actor. In this case, the client is the actor. The second element, which is basic for every proposition in coaching processes, is the designation of a special aspect of action. Regarding this, there are some different options. The option to address the actor's general situation, to address the actor's goals, to address the actor's action conditions, to address actions or decisions which the actor already performed or which he or she is planning to perform. And finally, there is also the option to address the consequences of those actions. If we think of the speech act, we are just analyzing, we must state that the client refers to a specific goal. She has to have finished her report till Friday. The third element, which characterizes the propositional part of speech acts and coaching processes, is the decision to position the communication issue in the present, past, and or future. Here, in our case, the client positions her problem in the present and future. She has to finish her report till Friday. And this problem is a real one, not a possible one. This feature refers to the fourth element. And finally, speaking of a serious problem, the client evaluates her issue negatively. This decision refers to the fifth element. And the sixth element focuses the fact that propositions can serve two functions. They can reflect the client's issues in the communication between coach and client. That's the communicative function. But they can also reflect and structure the coaching process itself. In this case, they are used meta-communicatively. Referring to the speech act we are analyzing, we can state that it is a communicative speech act and not a meta-communicative one, because the client is reflecting her problem that she has to deliver a report till next Friday. This shall be sufficient for the propositional part of the speech acts in coaching processes. Now let us have a look at the elocutionary part. It consists of numerous elements which can be sorted in 4 groups. All of these elements are decision options. This has been empirically verified by my analysis of coaching processes. The first group of decision options refers to a decisive set of frame-setting decision options.
The following 9 options for decision are possible: asking a question, mirroring what is recognized, presenting case-specific information, presenting a self-disclosure, presenting general information, dispute an issue, giving an order or advice, giving feedback, forming the relation explicitly. Of those 9 options, both coach and clients prefer 2, while those 2 differ from each other. Coaches heavily prefer asking a question and mirroring what they have recognized, while clients' favor are presenting case-specific information and presenting a self-disclosure. This structure is observable in the video too. Let us have a look at the beginning of the dialogue. The coach starts the conversation with the question, "Hi Chris, how are you?" The client responds with the first self-disclosure, "Oh, not very good, I'm afraid." The coach reacts to those self-disclosure with mirroring, "Sounds not good." She adds to this mirroring, "Tell me, what is the problem?" On first glance, there seems to be a request. In fact, it is again the speech act question. This question causes the client to elaborate on her problem. For this purpose, she chooses a speech act, while elocutionary function is to present case-specific information. In this sense, well, I have got this report to write, and it has to be done to next Friday. This shall be sufficient for the frame-setting decisions. The second group of possible decisions refers to problem-solving decisions. Those can occur in 2 modalities, namely instructional or facilitating mode. Regarding the second decision component, there are 5 options in coaching for the instructional and the facilitating mode, depending on the choice of frame-setting decisions. That is, If the speaker decides to ask a question or to mirror what he/she perceived, the decision regards the problem-solving decision will be in a facilitating mood. If the speaker thought decision to chose one of the other 7 possibility frame-setting decisions, the decision regarding the problem-solving decision will be in an instructional mode. The speciality of coaching is that coaches favor the facilitating mood of the problem-solving decisions. The reason for this is that more than 50% of their speech act are questions and mirrorings. Due to the facilitating mood of the problem-solving decision, they have got 5 decision options. The coach can encourage the client to take a positive problem-solving mood. He can encourage the client to identify the relevant information for the coaching issue. He or she can encourage the client to analyze this information in a specific way. The coach can encourage the client to evaluate the results of the analysis, and he or she can encourage the client to deduce decision for action based on these insights. And he or she can encourage the client to deduce the decision for action based on their insight. For clients, the specialty of coaching is that they prefer the instructional mode of the problem-solving decisions. There are 5 decision options. The client can tell the coach that he/she is in the right mood for problem solving. The client can tell the coach which information he/she thinks is relevant. The client can tell the coach how he/she analyzes the information and which conclusion he/she draws. The client can tell the coach how he/she evaluates the insights. And the client can tell the coach which decision for action he or she deduced based on these insights. What are the implications for the video we just watched? The coach starts the conversation by saying, "Hi Chris, how are you?" She asks a question and facilitatively encourages the client to take a positive problem-solving mood. The client answers, "Oh, not very good, I'm afraid." Thereby she executes the speech act self-disclosure with tell the coach instructionally the evaluation of her state. To this self-disclosure, the coach reacts by saying, "Sounds not good," mirroring what she just heard of the client and encourages the client facilitatively to reflect her evaluation. This mirroring is followed by her saying, "Tell me what the problem is." With these words, she executes the speech act question, facilitatively encouraging the client to identify relevant single basic data for her problem.
The client responds, "Well, I've got this report to write, and it has to be done until next Friday," by which she executes 2 speech acts. She instructionally gives the case-specific information, while at the same time referring to relevant single basic data. Time to have a look at the third group of elements, which the illocutionary parts of speech acts consist of. This group refers to decisions regarding the social point of view. Here too, the choice of the frame-setting decision determines whether the decision regarding the social point of view is in facilitating or in instructional mode. In facilitating mode, there are the following options. First, the speaker can encourage the listener to reflect the coaching issue from the speaker's point of view. Second, he or she can encourage the listener to reflect the coaching issue from her or his point of view. Third, he or she can encourage the listener to reflect the coaching issue from a third party's point of view. And fourth, he or she can encourage the listener to reflect the coaching issue from an everyman's point of view. In instructional mode, there are the following options. Starting with his or her point of view, the speaker tells the listener something. The second, the speaker tells the listener something while taking up the listener's position. Third, the speaker tells the listener something while taking up a third party's position. And fourth and finally, the speaker tells the listener something while taking up an everyman's position. What are the implications for the video we just watched? The coach starts the conversation by saying, "Hi Chris, how are you?" She, as the speaker, asks a question, facilitatively encouraging the listener to take up the listener's position and get into a positive problem-solving mood. The client answers this question with, "Not very good, I'm afraid," As a speaker, she takes her own point of view. The coach reacts to this self-disclosure with a short mirroring. Sounds not good. Here, she takes up the listener's position. The same is true for the follow-up question. Tell me what the problem is.
The client responds by taking up her own position as a speaker and says, "Well, I've got this report to write, and it has to be done to next Friday." Time to have a look at the fourth group of decisions, which can be chosen as an elocutionary part of speech act. These are decisions concerning the temporal point of view. Once again, the choice of the frame-setting decision determines whether the decision concerning the temporal point of view is made in facilitating or instructional mood. In facilitating mood, there are the following three options. The speaker can encourage the listener to reflect on the coaching issue from a specific point of view in present, past, or future. The speaker can encourage the listener to reflect on the coaching issue from a specific point of view in present, past, or future. In instructional mood, there are the following three options. The speaker can tell the listener something and take up a specific position in present, past, or future. For the last time, let us have a look at the video we just watched. This facilitative speech acts to encourage the client to take up the position of the present, and the client follows these suggestions without exceptions. Which meaning do speech acts with the elocutionary part poses for the different coaching basic media? We saw in the video that the coach listens carefully to the description of the issue by the client. This is very crucial for coaching. The media component, linguistic speech, is a valuable source to the coach to understand the client issue and to get a diagnostic picture of the problem. To illustrate this thesis, we have a look at an example for asynchronous text-based coaching. It is the first email the client sent his coach after the coach sent an email confirming the coaching and informing the client about his appreciation that the client decided to do in coaching. The first email by the client reads,
Dear Marcel, I'm a middle manager, aged 36. After completing a degree in econometrics, I quickly forged a career in the financial world. I currently supervise a team of 41 professionals. I work at Drost & Co Bank, providing loans to large organizations. I enjoy my job, but I sometimes find it difficult to maintain relationships with clients and employees. The bank has recently adjusted our pay system to include employee satisfaction as a factor in determining wages. So I really need to work on this. Yours sincerely, Peter Young.
The coach has to analyze this email. For this purpose, the just introduced speech act categories are very useful. Analyzing the first four speech acts. Concerning the elocutionary part, they are instruction speech act. The client transmits case-specific information from his own position as a speaker, which provides relevant basic data. This for speech acts differ in the proportional content. All four speech acts have in common that the speaker picks up himself non-metacognitively as the actor. This is an important insight. It might hint at the fact that the client does not perceive himself as a victim of circumstances or of bad people regarding his coaching issue. Let us have a look at the difference of the speech acts. Speech Act 1. I'm a middle manager, aged 36. With this speech act, the client thematizes a specific aspect of action, namely his general situation.
How the present really is, and this factual present situation is evaluated neutrally. For this first speech act, we can summarize the following. The first speech act, by which the client starts the conversation, is characterized by propositional content with the client as an actor, a factual and present duration which is evaluated neutrally. These features indicate a client which likes to refer to facts and consider them objectively. What about a second speech act? After completing a degree in econometrics, I quickly forged a career in the financial world. The client thematizes another aspect of action, namely his factual past actions, which he evaluates positively. This evaluation might indicate a strong self-confidence or, another possibility, that it is important to him that others evaluate him or his actions positively. Time for the third speech act. I currently supervise a team of 41 professionals. I work at the Drost & Co Bank providing loans to large organizations. The client thematizes yet another aspect of action, namely the outer framework of his actions. In detail, this is the present factual framework which is evaluated neutrally. Thereby, the hint that the client likes to refer to facts and regard them objectively is validated. After these 4 speech acts the client used to transmit case-specific information to the coach, there are 2 speech acts which can be categorized as self-disclosure. They as well serve the purpose to deliver basic data which are relevant for the coaching. Regarding the propositional content of both speech acts, it becomes apparent that the client thematizes himself as an actor, again non-metacommunicatively. In the first of those speech acts, the client thematizes the outer framework of his job, and in the second speech act, he thematizes his actions, which are to maintain relationships with clients and employees. In both cases, they are factual and in the present. Subsequently to the second self-disclosure, the next speech act is about the transmission of case-specific information, referring to basic data relevant to the coaching. With this speech act, for the first time, the client does not thematize himself as an actor, but as bank. This difference is noticeable, and it is fair to assume that it is of importance. What might be even more interesting is that the client thematizes a specific, more recent decision made by the bank without evaluating it, at least not explicitly. Implicitly, however, he evaluates this decision negatively, since he mentioned in the previous speech act to have problems with his subordinates. This description is potentially of diagnostic value, because it might show that the client tends to concentrate on facts and in the same process to obfuscate implicit tensions. The client's last speech act is, "So I really need to work on this," which seems to be the most important one in the entire email. It is a self-disclosure telling the coach about the client's conclusion, which is the decision to work on his coaching issue. The propositional content of the last speech act is characterized by the client thematizing himself as an actor. However, which aspect of action is he thematizing? A hard question to answer, and this in itself might have a diagnostic value. Only at first glance does the client refer to his future problem-solving actions by the word work. Taking a closer look, it becomes apparent that he is referring to outer framework, namely the pressure to act created by the bank's decision to change the pay system. Which means the client is not thinking about his problem-solving actions, but he thinks about the just mentioned outer framework.
Now we are coming to the end of this lesson, the end of the 6th lesson. What are the most important insights I wanted to deliver to you? I think first of all, it's important to recognize that coaching processes are decision-making processes. And they refer to speech acts. Speech acts are the smallest sense unit in our communication processes. We have learned that speech acts consist of 2 components, a propositional component and an illocutionary component. So coaches must make their decisions regarding to the propositional and the illocutionary component. And we have heard that these 2 components consist of different dimensions. We have heard the illocutional component consists of 4 different dimensions. And in each of these 4 dimensions, there are a specific set of options, decision-making options. So it's a task of the coach to find out which the right option to be chosen in this moment or in the next one. And the self is applying for the propositional component. We've heard that there are 6 different dimensions, and each of these 6 dimensions offers the coach a specific set of decision-making options, and the task of the coach is to decide which one is best appropriated in this moment or in the next one. So, to summarize these insights, we can say The linguistic speech is a very, very sophisticated and powerful media component in each coaching process, not only in face-to-face coaching, but also in video coaching, audio coaching, text-based coaching, and avatar-based coachings.